This is the Red Line, and I am your host, Jimmy Red. Thanks for tuning in. Oh my Lord, there's been a lot of sports that have happened this week. We've had championship week. We've decided who's going to Super Bowl 52. We have NBA stuff. Yes, I said NBA. I'm fired up about it. Watch the end. You'll see what I'm talking about. It's amazing. And we have breaking news about football, and it's not even NFL related. So pay attention. We're coming in hot. Here we go. We're starting it off with football. AFC Championship game. Holy smokes is what I got to say about that. The New England Patriots defeated the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's no surprise, right? But if you were to watch that game, huge surprise. I mean, absolute huge. I know that Patriots were a favorite, but Jacksonville was the team that should have won that game. New England tried to hand that game to them, but I don't know how Jacksonville didn't take advantage of that. Because the score at half was 14-10. At one point, it was 20-10, Jacksonville. And then they just went on a tear. And Danny Amendola just needs to be, the man of the year, because he made an absolute amazing catch because there was no Gronk. Gronk was hurt. He had a concussion because he got destroyed on a play, which was not legal in my mind, was not legal in my mind, but Danny Amendola made an absolute amazing catch to win that game. Then defense stood strong and stopped Jacksonville from doing what they had to do and putting points on the board to win that game. So all in all, everybody was not surprised that Pittsburgh won, but the way it was played out was a huge surprise because everybody thought Jacksonville was going to win it, and the Patriots tried to give it away. But old TB12 says not today. And Tom Brady came in there and played a good game. I mean, Tom Brady had 290 yards, threw for 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. It's not bad. He only got sacked 3 times, 12 yards. So, very productive. Stayed out of trouble, didn't get hit a whole lot. I know Saxonville, they say Saxonville. Well, he only got hit 3 times for 12 yards. That's not bad at all. But he still threw for 290, 2 touchdowns. Pretty sporty game right there for him. But where they really got hurt was the running game. Oh my Lord. Calais Campbell shut him down. Not just himself, but the entire Jacksonville defense. Calais Campbell, Miles Jack, all of them. They just shut them down. They held New England to only 46 yards on 19 carries. 46 yards, 19 carries, and 1 touchdown. 46 yards is all they ran for on the ground. That is unheard of. Absolutely unheard of. I can't believe it. I understand that you think, oh, we have a star quarterback and it's going to be a running game. Yeah, that's the way it normally shakes out. But for 46 yards, that's nuts. Brady is the one who carried that team with Danny Amendola. The running game was not there, for sure. But what can you say when that's part of it, and they have to just overcome it. But Brady, on the other hand, has had 8 comeback games in the playoffs. 8 of them. That's incredible. How many people can you think of that even had 1? He's had 8 playoff comeback from behind wins in the playoffs. Nuts. And then, to even put that even sweeter, since the Super Bowl in 1966, the New England Patriots are only one time, or one trip, shall I say, to the Super Bowl shy of how many times the Yankees have been to the World Series. The World Series for the Yankees has been 11. New England is at 10. The most out of anything is the Lakers with 22 to the finals. So, it's pretty good, if you ask me, that they're right there in that prestigious league of that stuff. And like I was saying, Brady was the one who had a good game, but his game was not that great until the fourth quarter. For some reason, this fourth quarter, he knows how to fire it off. I don't understand what it is, but he can turn it on in the fourth quarter. I mean, he was 17 for 24, 152 yards, and no touchdowns in the first 3 quarters of this game. Fourth quarter comes on, he sees the 4 quarters. Bang, he sees this. He sees everybody holding up 4 like this. And for some reason, TB12 just knows where to go and go to that next level. Let me tell you, he went 9 for 14, 138 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he hit Danny Amendola, like I said. So, I don't know how to explain this to you, that Brady is the man. The absolute man of the game. And that's the way that he shook out. So I'm excited and stoked to see that. And also, shout out to a guy who is on that team, Kenny Brett. He's making it to his first Super Bowl. And I don't know if anybody knows this, but Kenny Brett started the season off playing for the Browns. So he would have went 0-16. Now he's sitting in the Super Bowl. So huge shout out to Kenny Brett, ex-Tennessee Titan, going for a Super Bowl ring. Huge shout out there. But I want to jump over to the other side of the ball here and break a little bit down for you with Jacksonville. Blake Bortles had an amazing game. I don't know where it came from. I mean, he looked amazing. I understand that the defense for the Pats is not that good, but his game was incredible. He threw for 293 yards and 1 touchdown. I don't understand he only had 1 touchdown, but 293 yards out of Blake Bortles, and everybody was talking about they're going to have to get another quarterback to replace him because he's not that good. Well, guess what? Somehow he is, because he just went AFC Championship game and almost beat the franchise and famed Tom Brady. Crazy, awesome, nuts. In the running game, let me tell you what went crazy on them. 32 rushes, 101 yards. Leonard Fournette had an amazing game on the ground. 24 carries, 76 yards, 1 touchdown. It's pretty good. And then, if you want to even go farther than that, you go with TJ Yeldon. 5 carries, 25 yards. You know what that is? That's 5 yards a carry. If you handed the ball to him on first down, you got 5 yards. That makes second, third down so much easier because you only got to give 5 yards. It means you get 2 yards per play. It's a cakewalk. So, New England tried to hand this game to them. I mean, tried everything they could to give it to them. But they're going to the Super Bowl. Jacksonville is going home. Now we just have to see what happens next year and who they decide to keep, who they pick up. And you also have to wait and see what Josh McDaniels does, maybe possibly heading to Indianapolis with Andrew Luck. So, they may not be favored to win that division because think about it. They got 2 easy wins against Houston, 2 easy wins against Indianapolis. Because Houston, Deshaun Watson, hurt. He'll be back next year. So they may not win both of those. In Indianapolis, Andrew Luck could be back. New head coach, Josh McDaniels, could lose both of those. So they could potentially, in that conference, not even make the playoffs. And they were in the AFC Championship game. So, got to watch out for Jacksonville next year. Jacksonville could be a big, big heartbreak next year for all you fans, especially when Deshaun Watson and Andrew Luck come back healthy. So, we know who's in the Super Bowl on the AFC side. It is the New England Patriots. Now let's go break it down. The other game, well, if you want to call it a game, was not really much of a game. If you ask me, it was pretty incredible because I tell you, I picked Minnesota in this game. And the reason I picked Minnesota is because of their luck they had against New Orleans. New Orleans, I thought, was a better team and should have been where they are right now and, probably been going to the Super Bowl. But they won that game, so I figured, hey, you know what? They got lucky. They're going to be okay. They'll beat Philly with Nick Foles. I know I said in a couple podcasts they would be fine. Well, guess what? I was right, and I second-guessed myself. I shouldn't have. I should have stuck with Nick Foles. I knew Foles was a good quarterback. I told everybody where I work, and I've told everybody Nick Foles was going to be fine. Well, guess what? Let me tell you something. I know he struggled in his 2 regular season games, but he did not have time to get reps with the first team. Guess what? Got reps with the team. He's had 2 home games. The confidence is back. Let me tell you something. Nick Foles is on a roll, baby. And here come the Eagles. Underdogs all day, twice on Sunday, and here they come. They're headed to the Super Bowl, and they throttled Minnesota. I mean, put a throttling on them. When I mean throttling, I mean Nick Foles went out there and threw for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. That's right. I said Nick Foles. Don't think I said anything wrong there. Nick Foles went crazy on that game. And then, even on the ground, Jay Ajayi, wow, brought him in this year. He went crazy on the ground with him. 18 carries, 73 yards. That's a really good game. Then even LeGarrette Blount had a good game. That's their power back that is now facing his ex-team in the Super Bowl, the Pats. He went 6 carries, 21 yards. That's pretty good right there. That's like 4 yards a carry. That's incredible. So he was averaging 4 yards a carry, and he got the touchdown, but he punched it in. So that is a stout offense. And let me tell you about the receiving. I don't know if without Dante Hightower playing for the Pats, they're going to be able to stop this tight end that Philly has. Because the tight end they have is one of the best tight ends in the game. I would rank him almost even with Gronkowski, but I think Travis Kelce is probably the best tight end in the game. Zach Ertz. Let me tell you about Zach Ertz. That kid has hands. He can block. He can almost do the exact same thing that Travis Kelce can do, except Gronk's probably just a hair better than him, but Kelce's that next level up. And they're going to have to watch out for him because in this game here, against arguably the best defense in the NFC in Minnesota, he went crazy. He went crazy just like Nick Foles. I mean, Zach Ertz had 8 receptions for 93 yards. Pretty sporty game. And then Alshon Jeffrey, how are you going to stop him? You only got really Stephon Gilmore who's going to guard him, and that's really all you got to really watch out for. But I mean, he had 5 receptions, 85 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So there's a lot going on there in Philadelphia. You got to watch out for the Eagles this year. I know people say they're underdogs, but watch Philly. I'll explain it here in a minute why. Hear me out. But on the other side of the ball, Minnesota, they got a lot of decisions to make. A lot. I mean, you have 3 quarterbacks there. You have Case Keenum, who took you to where you are now. You have Sam Bradford, and you have Teddy Bridgewater. You have to decide who you're going to choose as your franchise quarterback. Do you stick with Case Keenum, the kid that was undrafted? Do you get Teddy Bridgewater, the kid out of Louisville? Or do you go with Sam Bradford, the guy who's been around for a while, the old one? Or who do you go with? You know, you got to figure out who do you want. The ex-Heisman Trophy winner? You want, Teddy Bridgewater, who just played. So a lot of decisions to be made in Minnesota about who their quarterback's going to be. And I'm not no knocks against Case Keenum. Nothing mean against him, but I don't think Case Keenum's the one that's going to take you to that next level. Because he was 28 of 48. It's not too terrible. Missed 20 passes. It's not great, but it's not terrible. And he was 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. The interceptions are what killed him. And I think that's what hurt Minnesota the most. The running game was not there. McKinnon did not have a running game. Neither did Latavius Murray. They only ran for 70 yards total as a team. So there was really no running game there. And the receptions, there was no receiving whatsoever hardly. Because McKinnon, the running back, is the one that had the most yards. And he had to do it out of the backfield. So there's not much there. Their highest receiver was Stephon Diggs, the guy who made the miracle catch last weekend. He only had 8 receptions for 70 yards. So, and he was the second best receiver. The number 1 receiver they have, but he was the second most. So I don't see Minnesota keeping Case Keenum there, and if they do, I don't know what they're going to do. Because they want to keep Bridgewater, they said. But if they keep Keenum, who's going to get Keenum? So I don't know where Keenum goes. I think Keenum could potentially land at a spot. I just don't know where he would land. I could say he possibly could go to New York if they don't get the looks they want at quarterbacks. I don't know. But I don't see him being in Minnesota. I do not see him in Minnesota. I know he did what he did, but I don't see him in Minnesota. So the Super Bowl is set. We know who it is. It is the Patriots and the Eagles. And guess what? It's a rematch of a Super Bowl we've already had, just so you guys know. And in that Super Bowl, it was Super Bowl 39. And it was them. And it was a thriller. Let me tell you. It was a 24-21 game. And the Patriots won in a last-minute field goal by who? Adam Vinatieri, the Colts kicker. He won the game for them. That's how they won it. So I hope it shakes out to be a thriller just like this one, because if so, it'll be amazing. And some more things here for you that I want to throw out there about this Super Bowl that's coming up is Brady has 27 playoff wins. Nick Foles has 22 regular season wins. Brady has more wins in the playoffs than Nick Foles has in regular season. If that doesn't tell you something, I don't know what does. I like the way Philly looks on paper. I think Philly looks amazing on paper, but I don't know what they're going to handle against them, because that's just the way they're going to be. Also, I know this is just crazy and weird, but 12 teams who have won the Super Bowl out of the last 13 seasons have worn white. Guess what team's wearing white this year? The Patriots. So, Patriots are wearing white. But on paper, think about this. So, I got my odds, I got my numbers, I got who I got, I like who I like. But when I go to place a bet, if it's a straight up bet, who do I have to win the Super Bowl? I got the Patriots to win it. I think the Patriots win the Super Bowl as of right now. But there's a but here. If I'm going to Vegas and I'm placing a bet, I'm putting it on the Eagles. And the reason I'm putting it on the Eagles is because most of the time when you look at the Patriots and they play a team that looks better on paper than them, they win by 3 points. That's it. They win by 3. So, I think this team here looks better on paper. Nick Foles had an amazing game. I think he's really turned it up to the next level. I think Zach Ertz and all of them are going to go to that next level. They got, awesome running backs in Jay Ajayi, and they got the X1 of LeGarrette Blount. I think they look good on paper. So, I think they win it by 3, maybe 4, but they cover the spread, and the Eagles will cover the spread for you in Vegas. So if you're placing a bet on the spread that's 5.5, take the Eagles. But if you're betting straight up, take New England. That's my picks. I think New England wins the Super Bowl. Also, I saw a thing the other day that some guy placed a multi-million-dollar bet on the Eagles. If he wins that, he's getting paid. So I don't know where he got $1 million or $2 million or whatever he placed on it from, but I hope he wins because that would be awesome to break Vegas's bank. Also, a couple more things in football here. I want to shout out to Steve Wilkes, the defensive coordinator here in Carolina. He got him a head coaching job. He is headed out west. He's going to be the new head coach for the Arizona Cardinals. So, I don't know how well that's going to shake out for him, especially right now since we're in an offensive league and everything leads offensive. As we saw this year, Carolina had a good defense, but it wasn't that great. It was good, but it wasn't to the top. So, I don't know what's going to happen with Carolina's defense. It's going to see what happens. I think whoever you bring in, you'll bring fine because you still got, a lot of good players. But next year, you're going to lose Thomas Davis at the end of 2018 season. So, I don't think it hurts too terrible, but I'm really curious to see what he does out there. He's a defensive coordinator, and they have no idea who their quarterback's going to be. So, Carson Palmer just retired, and what you have for backup is Drew Stanton, the kid out of Michigan State. So, it's going to be exciting to see what he does, especially since he's a defensive coordinator. I want to see how that works out. I don't know what his chances are going to be, but we'll see. So, I don't think that's going to turn out as good as Arizona wants, and I don't think it's going to turn out as good as he wanted. I could be wrong, but I don't think it's going to turn out as good as he wanted, considering Arizona's defense wasn't as good as their offense, and their offense was terrible. So, I don't know how good of a decision. He must have got a lot of money to head out there. So, that's pretty cool, but congratulations to him. And then one more thing on football, but this is not NFL related. I want to say there is another football league back in football. That's right, there's another football league. Vince McMahon, the owner of WWE, has came out and said, hey, guess what? I'm bringing the XFL back, baby. Well, he did. In 2020, the XFL is back. Yes, more football. I'm fired up. I love football. You can play it year-round. I love it. Play it year-round for all I care. I just bring it on. So, I'm stoked. Some of the stuff's released on it. It's coming out in 2020. The only problem is there's 8 teams. I wish there was more because the more footballs are going to be. So I wish there was more, but eventually I'm sure it'll evolve. So, I wish there was more. There's going to be a 40-man roster. I think that's pretty cool. You can bring a lot of guys in to do some cool stuff. He could bring in ex-football players to coach. He could bring in elite old coaches. He could bring in players that couldn't quite make it in the NFL, or he could bring in backups that are in the NFL right now to come over to his league. I mean, the first person to mention something to him was Johnny Manziel. If that kid could stay clean, marketing tool. So he's got the marketing, and if he does this right, he can make it last. And if you watch the documentary, when they did the one on the XFL, he says they would do stuff way different than they did the first time if they did it again. Well, guess what? They get a second shot. So let's go, Vince McMahon football. I'm excited. I'm loving it. It's cool. Let's go. And they're trying to also, the coolest thing about this is they're trying to attract the younger crowd. Because the younger crowd, like the millennials, have a hard time sitting still. They have a mind of a peanut. Not being mean, but they have a mind of a peanut. It floats all over the place. They look at something for 5 seconds, they go to the next. They look at something for 5 seconds, they go to the next. So they're trying to cut stuff down. He's trying to cut the game lengths to 2 hours instead of like 3 or 4 like the NFL. If you can cut that length down, now that child or the millennial or anybody doesn't have to sit as still as long, and they can watch the whole game. So now they know who wins. They can watch the middle. They can watch the start, and they're going to stay glued to the TV. So I think that's a good idea right there because he's going to keep your attention because you don't have to stay for 3.5, 4 hours to watch one game. You only got to stay for 2. You stay for 3.5, 4 hours, you can watch 2 games. You don't have to waste all day. You only waste half the day. So that's cool to me that he's doing that right there. I think that's going to be a big, big thing for him to progress the correct direction. And with that being said, I want to just segue my way over to some basketball talks here. Those are some things that happened that were really cool that hasn't happened in a long time. And DeMarcus Cousins became the first player to score 40, 20, and 10. So he's part of the 40, 20, 10 club. He's not the first player to ever do it. There's been, I think, 4 players that have done that. 4 elite players have done that. But he is the first player since 1968 to do it. The last player to do it was none other than Mr. Walt Chamberlain in 1968. So for Boogs to do that, that's cool. But Mr. Chamberlain did it in regulation. Boogs had to do it in double overtime, and he had to score 7 points. He didn't have to score 7 points, but he scored 7 points in that second overtime. He had 2 3-pointers, and he got fouled and missed a free throw or something like that. So it was cool to see him do that because I'm very stoked that somebody came out and did something completely different. So shout out to Boogie Cousins. I'm really excited to see that. So Boogie, way to go, bud. Keep it up. They beat Charlotte the other night. I was not real thrilled about that. I thought Charlotte had a little bit better team. They just lost that. So it's okay. It's fun. But this is my big topic right here that I want to get to. This is the one I've been wanting everybody to see and wait on. LeBron James. You can love him all you want, or you can hate him. But he's LeBron James. There's no denying that he is the greatest basketball player in the game of basketball right now. You can't deny that. You can say Curry, you can say Durant, you can say anybody. But you can't deny that LeBron James is the most gifted and best basketball player in the NBA. You can't deny that. Because he just joined an elite club. He joined the 30,000 points club. And he is in there with an amazing cast of people. He's in there with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Karl Malone, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Walt Chamberlain, and Dirk Nowitzki. That's the cast. And now you have LeBron James in there. Well, now there's only 4 players. 4 elite players are at 30,700 and 700, or 7,000 and 7,000, sorry. And LeBron is the youngest to get to 30,000, by the way. But there's only 4 players with the, like I said, the 30,000, 7,000, and 7,000. And he's the youngest to do that. Plus, he's about to join an elite club by himself and be 30,000, 8,000, and 8,000. And that means he's going to have 30,000 points, 8,000 rebounds, and 8,000 assists. I know that sounds incredible. But for a kid that came out of high school, and he was the most hyped player to ever come into the game of basketball out of high school, ever. The kid lived to the hype, man. He lived up to it. He did not step away. I mean, think about what he came from. He came from no father and a mother that could barely make it, and he stayed out of trouble, and it was this young boy from Akron, Ohio. Young kid. And he just was genetically gifted. And this kid can play basketball. And he didn't let anything stop him. He could have went and gotten all kinds of trouble because he didn't have a father figure in his life, but he stayed motivated on basketball. And that's hard to do as a kid, especially when everybody wants you to do something else. So you can love the guy or you can dislike the guy. But the numbers come out and say there has been no player in NBA history to have over 30,000 points, 8,000 rebounds, and 8,000 assists. He will be the first player to do it. I know the rings are not there. I know they're not there. He's not going to get to Michael. He's not going to get to Bill Russell. He's not getting there. But that's the reason being behind that is because of the teams that are created nowadays. They create these powerhouse teams, and those powerhouse teams stop him. I mean, when you got Golden State that has 4 rock stars or 5 rock stars on the team, you can't stop them. And then before that, you had Miami that he was on, that he created, and they were the rock star team. And then before that, you had Boston, and they had their big 3. So the big 3 is how it went, and the game has changed. Because back when Michael was playing, Michael was the man, and he had players that made him better, like Scottie Pippen, Steve Kerr, who's now the coach for Golden State. And you had so many players there that just made him better as a person, Michael. So I think LeBron's playing in a completely different era, and I still think that you could say he could potentially be the best player to ever play the game of basketball. I'm not saying he is, I'm just saying you could potentially put that argument that he is, even though he does not have the championships. I know it, but stats say it. And his owner, I think, is making a statement regarding LeBron James. His owner here has went out and said something a little weird, And I hope that this tells everybody what's going on. His owner, Dan Gilbert, has came out and said, hey, want to sell the Cavs potentially. I don't know about you guys, but that kind of puts a little weird feeling in my head. It makes me think, oh, really? Why would Dan Gilbert come out and say this year, of all years, I want to sell the Cavaliers? Well, think about it for a second. If you think about it and you let it go through your head, it's because he knows the ticket is hot right now. He's like, hey, I got a hot ticket. I got the best player in the NBA. I got LeBron James. My market value is up here. Well, guess what? Now that he knows his market value is high, he wants to sell. Well, let me tell you something. He's selling because LeBron's headed to LA. And when LeBron leaves, that market value goes down to here. And he loses money because of LeBron James. So him coming out and saying this to me tells me that LeBron's made his mind up. He knows LeBron's made his mind up and LeBron's headed to LA. And if LeBron heads to LA, the value goes down, he loses money. And he doesn't want that because he's a businessman. So that tells me LeBron's headed to LA. I think Paul George is headed to LA as well because Paul George's numbers are way down with Russell Westbrook. And when he leaves, his numbers be way up. Look at the people, like I said, like a few podcasts ago, months ago, not months, maybe 1 month ago, that have got better since they've left him. Serge Ibaka got better. James Harden got better. That was a cap one. That was kind of a cap one there, but still, he left, got better. Victor Oladipo left. He's an NBA All-Star now. So these people that leave Russ, they get better when they leave. So I think Paul George leaves, goes to LA, plays with LeBron because there's rumors that LeBron was really upset that they didn't get LeBron James when he was, or not LeBron, Paul George when they got Isaiah Thomas. He wanted Paul George more than Isaiah Thomas. But he won't come out and say that. It's just reports. But I think it's true because he really wants him. And that's why they're talking and both headed to LA because that's where Paul George wants to get. So guess what? You're going to have Magic Johnson, Jerry West. That's going to be your front office. Then you're going to have LeBron, Paul George, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, and all these rock stars out in LA. Guess what? The Lakers will be back, baby. And they will be giving Golden State a run for their money because I think Klay Thompson leaves because he can go get paid. And Durant's turned into a complete thug lately. He's got more technicals himself. He's got 4 techs himself. He has more himself than any team in the NBA. The next closest team has 3. Himself has 4. He has more than Draymond on his own team, and Draymond's the bad guy. And Durant has more than him. So Durant has more himself than any team in the NBA. So he's just turned into this wild man lately, and I don't know what's wrong with him. I don't know if it's the ego set in or what's going on there, but I think Klay's going to leave, go start his own deal, and that kills that the place there. And I think that here come the Lakers. So then you got the Lakers and the Celtics back in the final, just like back in the day, because the Celtics are good. They are really good. I mean, you got young talent, Jaylen Brown, and you got Kyrie. And then you got, the only guy that could really guard LeBron plays for them now, so you'd have to worry about that in the finals. You got, Jay Crowder. Then I think Kevin Love leaves ship there, though, so Crowder moves around. So years to come down the road for the NBA are going to be amazing. I think you start seeing rematches of the old day finals when it was Boston versus LA. And I'm excited for that because as a sports guy, that's what I live for, and I love it. So I know I went off on a tangent there about some NBA stuff, but I'm sorry, and I couldn't help it. So you guys make sure you tune in next week to the RedLine because we're going to have so much more excitement. The Pro Bowl's this weekend. We're going to talk about it. We're going to get more information on the Super Bowl handed out to you guys. We're going to watch basketball, and I'm going to hand all the stuff I can hand to you guys and all you can handle. So tune in next week on The RedLine.